is Nancy again from Azle Memorial Library with some wonderful children's picture books and juvenile fiction to share with you this month. My first choice is a book about the color green. That's my favorite color, so when this came through, I grabbed it and I started to read. It's by Peggy Gifford, and she starts out with a bit of a mystery. She says the thing is green. Well, what is this thing that is green? That's the mystery that the reader has to solve. And so you take a journey through all kinds of green, all shades of green, types of green, like dragon green or tornado sky green, which really creeped me out when I saw that, or tiger eye green, which I thought was beautiful. We read about all those kinds of green and we have to solve the mystery. The illustrations, which is the heart of the book, are done by Lisa DeSimini. And what she did was a really interesting process. She basically created mixed media collages by scanning images and objects into the computer. So, for example, pipe cleaners become seaweed, and the skin of the children in the book are images of her own skin. So they are really marvelous images that came out, and I love the brightness that resulted. Each picture has lots going on there so children can come back again and again to the book and see new things. And what is this thing that is green? I'm not telling you. You're just going to have to check out the book and figure it out yourself. The Great Big Green by Peggy Gifford. Now, we're talking about picture books, but my next book has absolutely no pictures and it still qualifies as a picture book. It is called The Book with No Pictures. It is such a fun book. It is fun for an adult to read to a child. It is meant to be read out loud. I read this to a group of kindergartners at Silver Creek Elementary School recently, and they loved it and begged me to read it again right away. So basically, what B.J. Novak has done is he has taken every single picture out of a picture book and just had words. But the rule is you have to read every single word on the page. So you end up with silly words like blork and blurf and my head is made of blueberry pizza, which delights children. This page especially, where you have to read every single thing that's on that page, sent the kids into giggles. B.J. Novak is no relation to me. He is the writer, actor, director, and executive producer of NBC's The Office. And the reason I love this book is that what he's done is taken the importance of words on a page and shown it to children in a really fun way. And that is a wonderful pre-literacy skill for them to learn, that words on a page are important. So pick this book up and then bring it home and read it to some child that you love and watch the smiles and the giggles happen. The Book with No Pictures by B.J. Novak. The next picture book that's on my list is a nonfiction book. And as soon as you see the cover, you'll know what it's about, even if you can't read. What kid doesn't like sharks? We all love sharks, and Shark Week is on TV, well, every week on some channel. So I invite you to dive down into shark-infested waters and learn about the great white sharks with this book, Neighborhood Sharks, Hunting with the Great Whites of California's Farallon Islands. Now the Farallon Islands are off the coast of San Francisco. And Catherine Roy grew up in San Francisco, so she knows the area well. What we learn in this book is basically the cycle of life. We learn about why the great white shark comes to the Farallon Islands at a very certain time. They are going after northern elephant seals, and they come back every September. We learn what it is about a great white shark's body that makes it the perfect predator. So some interesting things that I learned is, I learned that a shark's body is like a jet airplane. And the most interesting thing that I learned was about how the great white's circulatory system is set up, different from a lot of other fish, and how it helps them become the predator that they are, an even better predator than some other fish. I learned that their scales can become camouflage for them so they can hide in the reeds, and that they are visual predators. Their eyes are very sensitive. White sharks have been in the ocean for about 11 million years. But right now we know that their species is being threatened by human impact. So I invite you to pick this book up. Catherine Roy did the illustrations as well, and learn all about the great white shark, and maybe one day you'll become a shark scientist and help save the species. So this is Neighborhood Sharks by Catherine Roy. Now we're going to move on to juvenile fiction, and I have 3 offerings for you that I just found wonderful. My first choice is called The Zoo at the Edge of the World by Eric Kahn Gale. This is a very interesting book because it gives a little bit of history that kids might not learn in school. Marlin is the boy in the book, and he's got a father who has created a resort with a zoo in Guyana for wealthy British people to go as a vacation spot. So all you have to do is go there, experience the jungle wild, rest, relax, and then go back and tell your friends so they can come and visit too. Now, it's all very lovely for the British vacationers, but it's not very lovely for the animals. And other people want that land to make their own magic kingdom happen. So desperate times call for desperate measures. And what Marlin's father does is he captures a black jaguar to be part of his zoo. And that's where all the trouble starts. Now Marlin is a stutterer, so he rarely speaks because of his stuttering. And in the course of the story, he must face some things that are not very good, and he has to make a decision about the kind of person he's going to be. Will he follow in his father's footsteps, or will he go in a totally opposite way? The black jaguar gives Marlin a superpower, and it's with that superpower that Marlin is able to find his own voice and make his decisions. The last few chapters of this book are not for the faint of heart, but it's where all the things converge and where you finally understand what is going on. This is a very, very powerful story about power. And it being set in 19th century British colonialism, we think, well, that's old history. But its cautionary tale can really be applied to modern times as certain countries try to impose their vision on another country. It is a great adventure story to read aloud. As I read it, I could think, oh, I would like to be reading this to a kid. And through the story, you ask yourself, would you choose to do what Marlin chose to do? The illustrations by Sam Nielsen are really awesome, especially this really, really creepy one of the jaguar, who turns out to be not so creepy after all. So try The Zoo at the Edge of the World by Eric Kahn Gale. my next story is by a very, very famous author, Anne Martin. Most people know who Anne Martin is. We know that she did the Babysitters Club series, the Doll People series, she did the Main Street series, and a lot of other standalone books. But she's come out with an amazing middle grade book that just blew me away, mainly because it delivers such a powerful story in a very simple way. The character in this story is Rose. She is a 5th grader, and she has Asperger's syndrome, which is another way of saying high-functioning autism. Now, kids with autism see the world in black and white. They don't like a lot of changes. They don't like relaxing of rules. They don't understand it. And Rose in particular has a lot of trouble with that. She focuses on homonyms. That's the title of the book, Rain, Rain. It's 2 words, sound the same, spelled differently, and mean different things. So that's a homonym. So she keeps a list of homonyms that she finds, and she doesn't understand why no one else in her world doesn't really care about homonyms. She tries to get them, and they get bothered by it. She struggles in school. Her classmates shun her. Her classroom aide is constantly taking her out of the classroom to get her under control. And it's a real hard life. If you liked the book Wonder, you liked the book Out of My Mind, you liked the book The London Eye Mystery, you'll love Rain, Rain. One day her father comes home out of the rain with a dog that supposedly he has found wet. And Rose immediately falls in love with this dog, names the dog Rain. Now her father is an alcoholic, and he really cannot deal very well with Rose. He doesn't know how to relate to her. Her uncle Weldon, on the other hand, is a really kind guy, and he gets Rose. He's very patient with her. He takes her places. She is totally afraid of her father and totally loves her Uncle Weldon. And she doesn't sometimes know who she should go with. So Rose falls in love with Rain. They become inseparable. But then one day a hurricane comes to their area and washes away the bridge to their home, and Rain goes missing. So Rose needs to find Rain. She comes up with this elaborate and wonderfully detailed plan of how she's going to find Rain. And when she does, she discovers that she's going to have to make a very, very difficult decision. And her father is going to have to make a difficult decision too. I love this book so much that I would love this book to win the Newbery Medal. I don't know if it will. We'll find out in a few days, but it really is an important book. It carries a message that different is good, and that we should celebrate all the differences that we have in our personalities and the way we look at the world and operate in the world. Throughout the book, because of her hyper-obsession with homonyms, kids learn a lot of vocabulary, and that's another reason I love this book, is because she gets kids to learn vocabulary in a way that they don't realize they're learning. She's famous for all those other books, but I think she's going to become very famous for Rain, Rain. Anne Martin's Rain, Rain. There's lots of buzz about this book, even in adult circles, and I haven't met one person yet who hasn't loved this book. So Rain, Rain by Anne Martin. And my last book, I had to do a fantasy book because I love children's fantasy. So we're going to offer you The Nether by Matthew Joven. If you like The Ranger's Apprentice, if you like The Chronicles of Narnia, if you like Lord of the Rings, then this book might be for you. The Nether is set in the late 400s, early 500s period of time, kind of the Dark Ages, where it's oral tradition stories, and stories are passed from generation to generation. And there's this story about how small villages were being destroyed by an evil being called the Nether. And then a brave knight named Tristan came to one of the villages, gathered a small army of men, and went into the mountains to fight the Nethergrim and kill it. And then only 3 men came back. And for a long time, everything was fine, until suddenly animals started to disappear, and children started to disappear, and 3 teens figure out that the Nethergrim is not dead, but the Nethergrim is back. So they decide they need to journey to the Nethergrim's lair, and it reminded me a lot of Frodo's journey to Mordor, with all its dangers and all its terrible things happening, vicious attacks. So Edmund, Catherine, and Tom, they endure quite a lot on this quest. And there's magic, and there's wizards, and a plot twist near the end reveals why the Nethergrim is not dead, why the attacks continue, and we know that this story is going to continue in further installments, which I can't wait for the next one. I loved the action, I loved the descriptions, I loved the characters. A lot of the characters you don't like, you hate them, but the emotional connection is wonderful for all of them. So you either love a character or you hate it, and that is a sign of a good book. This is the first of a trilogy, as I said, and so I invite you to get on board and get ready for a wild and fantastical ride. I really liked the world building of this story because it wasn't as detailed and long as, for example, Lord of the Rings. It was just enough and just perfect for a reader to get the image in their head. Matthew Jobin is actually an anthropology professor in his day job, and he got this idea for this story as a boy playing in the forests near his house and reading lots and lots of adventure stories. This is great for middle grade students. Junior high students would enjoy it as well, and advanced younger readers too. So try The Nethergrim by Matthew Jobin. And that's all I have for you today. Pick up one of these books and enjoy it, and we'll see you next time. Bye!